Good morning, everybody. I just had a little bit of technical difficulty there, a little bit. My name is Chris Rose here today with Gary Lingardi. I'm sorry, I messed up your last name.
That's close.
Oh,
Liguori.
Liguori. There we go. Everybody knows I'm pretty famous at messing up everybody's last name, but thank you for correcting me. Gary is owner of Atlantic Coast Reduction in Business Expenses and Reduction, and he's here today to show us some tips. And at first, I was a little skeptical at Gary's information that he was telling me, but it's really interesting because it's true. Like, we are working so much and there's so many things that we think we are on top of, and that was my skeptical attitude. Like, well, I'm on top of everything, I don't need somebody to tell me how to save money. But as you're building your company, you may be able to do your books and save all the money you can. But as you grow in your business, a guy like Gary will come in handy, and I'm going to pass it over to Gary. He's going to, introduce himself and let you know where he's from and tell us about your company.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Not a
Yeah,
problem.
so Atlantic Cost Reduction. So what we do is we just try to help businesses save money, where they can. And it's all contingency based. We kind of put the money where the mouth is. And so we try to help in a lot of different areas. Earlier, we were talking about, as an example, credit card processing. So as an example there, if we do an audit of your credit card processing and can save you money, then great. We charge a fee, a portion of the savings.
And that's what I like.
Yeah. And if we can't save you anything, then there's no charge, there's no risk, there's no upfront cost.
That's great.
And you get a free audit from it. So there's no downside to it.
That's great because there's motivation there, of course. Like, imagine getting paid. And a lot of companies do get paid up front to do their job,
Right.
But I noticed with companies that don't get paid before the job, they're a lot more aggressive of doing the job correctly and more professional.
Right.
And then they get paid. And I really do like that concept. I mean, I thought there was a payment and, consulting companies that you have to pay them. And then, but what you're saying is like, kind of like, well, wait, there's incentive for Gary and your company to get us to save money.
Right. And the key is there. Number one, the beauty of it is that there's no risk for the client. Number two, if there weren't savings to be found, then we wouldn't have a business. But we know from doing, thousands of these in different categories. So obviously, credit card processing is one, but even, in the insurance industry, whether it's workers' comp or liability, or even life insurance and health insurance. Health insurance is a big one.
Oh, yes. And the workers'
insurance
comp is
companies, in a lot of cases, a company's biggest expense is their payroll, but a lot of times the second biggest expense is health insurance. So it kind of fits into that same category. Hey, if we review what you're doing, can take a look at it and hopefully save money on your pocket here's a key to it, without changing your provider. So same thing with the credit card process.
So you work with our providers.
Work with your existing providers to say, look, we think something was either misbilled or overcharged, and we can find those, because a lot of these industries are really complicated.
Yeah.
And you're an expert in what you do.
Yes.
You may be knowledgeable in some of these other areas, but you're not an expert. You can't be an expert in everything.
No, you can't.
Right. So even like shipping is another area where companies ship with UPS and FedEx, and they get overcharged for stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And we can do audits of that. And it's the same concept. If we find savings, great. If not, we just audited your situation and found that you're okay.
I'm so happy to have you here as a guest, because now being I'm in a small business here in New Jersey. This is what our podcast is all about: helping small businesses get shine and marketing, and just get on and get visual and get people to get recognition. And and I'm happy to have you as a guest, because there's people, and I'm one of them, and other business people, owners, small business owners, they find themselves with a small business, very easy to navigate it, very easy, QuickBooks, very easy to keep the books. But then this thing starts to grow and starts to become a monster.
Right.
How do you keep up with all these bills? Now you got bills. Maybe you have a software app that you bought into, and you made an agreement, a payment, and it's just they keep on taking $20 out a month, but you
Right.
don't use that app no more, but you have it. Do you look for stuff like that, or is that also part
Actually,
of?
I mean, it's funny you say that, because that's how I originally got involved with consulting. So I've been a business owner for, I don't know, 30 years or whatever, going back to 1995.
Wow.
And started in the prepaid telecom industry with phone cards and prepaid cellular, and
Remember those
now
days?
gift cards. Yeah, so it's evolved. But there was a time, about 10 years ago with my business, I had a sports and recreation facility, and stuff with kids for birthday parties and camps and sports leagues, things like that. But anyway, one day I'm looking at my bank statement and what they withdrew from my account, and then I'm looking at the credit card statement, and I have no idea how and why I'm getting charged for certain things.
Yes.
And I ended up getting introduced to a company that specializes in that area. And they explained to me how credit card processing works. And you really get charged a different amount for all the different cards.
Yeah.
So is it a debit card? Is it a credit card? Is it a rewards card? American Express.
Oh, yeah, American Express sometimes,
more like
some companies don't even take American Express
because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned from him, what they do, and then I ended up becoming a representative of that company as well. So that's what I do. I kind of put together my clients with the subject matter experts to identify where
them.
There's overcharges. Yeah.
Nice.
So, and like I said earlier, it's all contingency based. If we can find those savings, great. If not, then you have peace of mind as a business owner that, okay, I'm getting charged correctly for these things. But in the credit card business, it's extremely rare that people are not getting overcharged. It's a very sleazy business.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry. I just want to tell you, we are a functional, open business, and we know this during other podcasts. My phone is forward with the business, but we do have somebody picking that up. But yeah, this is a live business and a live podcast, so it's just to keep on going. I'm sorry about the phone call, but we're still got to do business, right?
Hey, got to keep up with the customer.
So so you were mentioning how like sleazy. That's kind of weird coming from not come from you, but just like associated with the credit card companies, because they do some very shady business when it comes to these credit card fees, and it's difficult to deal with it.
Yeah, in fact, just to kind of prove the point, if you Google Visa, MasterCard, class action lawsuit, there is a pending lawsuit against them. That's like $5 billion.
Oh my God!
Where because they have been doing this for a long time, they overcharged their customers.
And where's the regulation?
Right, that's a whole different subject.
I couldn't.
But in a lot of these cases, a lot of things are intentionally complicated so that you as the customer can't really tell for sure if you're being charged accurately.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's also things that make it complicated, like the type of card and things like that. But there are typical savings to be found, and really with credit card processing, there's a few ways actually that if you own a business, you can save money right now. So one of them is to just have an audit, a free audit, to have it checked out. The second thing is, there's obviously a lot of competition in that field, and you can change providers. And a lot of times a new provider would give you a better price. Now, the other problem with that is a lot of people don't want to disrupt their business by changing their provider.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's
Especially the phone system.
right. But then there's another trend in the business too, which is called cash discount. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, could
But
you explain more about
yeah,
that? That
so
sounds
what's
interesting.
happening more and more now is credit card companies are saying to businesses, and you see this a lot in restaurants. If you pay your bill with cash
Mhm.
as opposed to the credit card, they'll typically give you like a 3 to 3.5% discount on your bill.
Wow.
And it's growing. It's about 10% right now of businesses in the
Wow.
country.
So they're circumventing not even
Right,
using
so
the
what-
credit card.
Exactly. So what they're doing is
Mm.
they're passing the 3 or 4% or whatever it happens to be that the merchant is paying.
Mhm.
That's now getting passed along to the customer.
Mhm.
Now the customers sometimes don't like it, but
Yeah.
that's just kind of sometimes the cost of doing business. And usually in a restaurant, as an example, you'll see a sign that, it says that, hey, if you pay by cash, you'll get a discount. If not, it will be a 3.5% surcharge on the bill.
Oh,
But these are all different ways that for your
Yeah, I
listeners,
definitely
that,
understand.
if they do have credit cards, there's some different ways that they can save money.
well, that's exactly what we do. Like, we tell our customers, if you want to use a check or cash, there is a discount, because we don't want to see our customers either paying these high surcharges
Right.
on credit cards and debit cards. But you have customers that they are like, well, we don't have cash on us, and we want to use our points on our credit card.
Right.
And it's just it is a very complicated game of going back and forth with different credit companies and providers.
Right.
I want to ask you a question here.
Sure.
I s- over Can you explain like the technology and the experience to help that the technology and experience help that can help business save money without charging providers of any upfront costs? Like, is there any providers that can do that? Like, not cost any upfront costs?
For the credit card processing?
Yeah.
Well, that's where that cash discount came in, where the merchant, you're not paying for the credit card fees anymore. It's now being passed along to the customer. But for the audit, when we audit a company and they don't have to change providers, there's no upfront cost for us to do the audit. The only fee that you're paying is a percentage of the savings that we have found. So if we save a client, let's say $1,000 a month, they pay a portion of that savings. So there's no out-of-pocket expense in that case. So it's all found money, and they're happy to pay when they're saving 1,000 and they have to pay 500. They're $500 ahead.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. So, do you typically work with smaller businesses, mid-range businesses? Because, like I said, as these businesses and as our small businesses do grow, it's harder to keep track of the bills.
Right.
And in the overhead, like I could show you like our overhead before we could even see any type of money. It's just immense.
Right.
Now, dealing with that, is that what you deal with more of companies like that, like a smaller brand, or
We
no
deal,
matter how big the company
yeah,
is?
so we deal with companies of all different sizes. So from the smaller side, typically, someone that's doing at least like 20,000 a month in revenue.
Oh,
On
okay.
the smaller side. But on the bigger side, some of the services, they need to be, multi-million-dollar companies. For example, in the shipping, where we help with shipping audits,
Yeah,
they
because that went
they need to be a
substantially up.
larger company.
Yeah.
There's another company that we do for accounts payable, where we automate accounts payable, and then in those cases, the business has to be about 7 million a month in accounts payable, where we can help them automate their payments and actually give them a rebate on their payables. Similar to if you get a rewards card and you get cash back or whatever, we can help them cut their costs and get a rebate for their accounts payable department. But in that case, if they're a smaller company, we can't help them. They need to be, at least about 7 million a month in accounts
It's a
payable.
big company.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it just depends. But also, let's talk a little bit about restaurants, because we can really help restaurants a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants out there.
So have you ever ordered through like DoorDash or Uber Eats?
I have, but I typically have other people do it for me because
Okay.
I'm not like I do use it, but I barely use it.
So what's happening in the industry now with restaurants, and this kind of really blossomed a lot during COVID, but they're getting charged by DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, about 30% of the bill from the customer.
Wow.
So, and a lot of times, a lot of the cost is passed on to the customer, but it's still very expensive. And so we work with a company that gives these restaurants some alternatives to lower those fees.
Like alternative companies besides DoorDash
Yes.
and Lyft, or whatever, all these other companies.
The three big ones are DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub.
Wow.
So they're charging usually 30%, sometimes a little bit lower, maybe 20 on the lower side.
Yeah.
And we have a company that will charge a flat $2.50 or $3.50 or $4 instead of that high percentage.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's a
so
big
you do have a
savings.
company that does that.
Yes.
So for anybody that's in the restaurant business, which is a very, very popular business in New Jersey,
Right. Exactly.
and it's just getting bigger because nobody has time to cook half the time,
Right.
so they're ordering out, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and we don't replace them. Like our concept is, we know those companies are bringing you customers and giving you a lot of volume. So we're not saying, use this company instead of DoorDash, but we're saying if you convert some of your customers over to this service instead, you're going to pay a much lower fee, and then your customers are paying a lower fee, because if you take the average order is about like 50 bucks.
Yeah.
So now if you take a $50 order, right, and you charge 30% on top of that, right? So now it's $65.
Yeah.
And so now that $65 order is being charged 30% by DoorDash on top of it.
So DoorDash can make some money,
It's a lot to both the restaurant and the customers. And now the customer is saying, well, do I really want to order that way when I'm paying so much? And a lot of people still do. It's a skyrocketing industry, but there are ways to kind of cut your fees. And then along those same lines, we have a service that even with DoorDash and Grubhub, we can do some things to lower their fees with DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, even with those orders that are going.
So it sounds like you have a big customer base with restaurants.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
there's thousands nationwide.
Yeah.
There's about 20,000 that we're working with, but 20,000 is a small number compared to the millions of restaurants that are out there nationwide. So.
Yeah. So you work out of state of New Jersey also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we work nationwide, but yeah, obviously being based in New Jersey, we have pretty good client base in the state.
So you got a good reputation here. How long has Atlantic Cost Reduction's been around for?
So about 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And the 8 years you guys went through COVID. How did that affect you?
Yeah, well, the biggest COVID actually helped in some ways. It was challenging in other ways too. Now, my other business, by the way, actually went bankrupt, went out of business.
And what were you doing?
The sports and recreation.
Oh, that's right.
Facility.
Okay. So you still had it at that time?
Yeah, I had it at that time.
Oh, man.
So yeah, COVID was both very tough, and in some ways for the cost reduction business, it helped it because now businesses were
looking to save money. They're looking to
save money. It also helped in the sense that now people have gotten more and more used to doing business through Zoom calls and things like that. So I can talk to someone in Chicago or California or wherever it is through Zoom, and we can do presentation, explanation of the business over Zoom, and that kind of grew through
And
COVID.
that's a lot helpful too. It's a
But-
lot more affordable to do it that way too.
Yeah, and then with COVID too, some of the services we talked before we went on,
Especially the
about
restaurant
the
service.
ERC, the tax credit, and some of the other things that
Yeah.
are COVID based. That was kind of spurred by COVID. So some of these things.
I think people are still waiting on that ERC.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you think about the volume
Oh,
that
yeah.
the government
They're,
has to keep up with,
yeah. There's
it's,
millions
yeah,
of people
it's
waiting
just
on that.
it's millions of businesses and billions of dollars.
So you're the owner of this company right here,
right.
and Atlantic cost reduction, and
Work with me to find clients, but also we are really putting together, we're kind of like a matchmaker of the client
Mhm.
who would like to save money, and then with the subject matter experts of these different areas. So one company is an expert in shipping cost reduction, another company is an expert in accounts payable, another one in the tax credits, another one for the restaurants, another one for credit card processing.
Mhm.
So some of the businesses that I work with, they may find areas of savings in 2 or 3 areas. Some could be 5 or 7. Some maybe just 1. It just depends on the business. But it would be rare for me to sit down with a business and not be able to find
something.
savings
Yeah.
in some area. Unless they're so small,
Yeah.
then we can't really do much. But in general, there's usually something we can find.
I mean, I could tell you, like with my example here, we have an immense overhead now since we've been in business. The company is fairly new, and we acquire such an overhead. You said the biggest ones are payroll, which it is, taxes. There's another one, workers' comp, which is
Right.
huge in our industry, which is very expensive. And dumping fees because we do trash removal, and then we have to take it to a landfill or what New Jersey, they're called transfer stations,
Right.
where they go to get disposed, stuff gets sorted out and then shipped out of state, and we have to pay for that, also part of the price that's equated to the customer. And I mean, you would actually we would give you all our things, all our expenses, and your company would be able to look at all those expenses and give us some sort of advice on how to cut down. And what I mean also by cutting down is unnecessary things.
Right. And in some areas, we wouldn't be able to help you, but in quite a few of them, like earlier you mentioned workers' comp. So that's a popular one.
Yeah.
Because it is number one, it's complicated.
It is.
Number 2 is it's expensive. So we have a company that we work with that specializes in there. And see, there's a couple things that they can do that you can't. Number one, they have the time to do it. Number 2, they have technology, artificial intelligence in that specific area of business. And so they have the technology that you don't have.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What kind of technology do you guys use?
And they have the expertise.
Yeah.
So they can review it, and as I said earlier, they're confident enough, and it's common enough to find the savings that they do it without charging anything up front and say, look, Chris,
that's great.
If we can save you, great. If we can't, you at least have peace of mind that, okay, I'm not overpaying for these different things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a win-win. Even the worst case scenario is where we come back and say, all right, we looked at it, can't help you out. At least now okay, I'm doing the best I can. But if we can save you money in some case, and in workman's comp as an example, not only can they save you currently, but they can, going forward save you, and then they can even look back at some time and audit things that happened.
And then you get a little refund on there.
A year ago. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we here are very we have a complicated situation with workers' comp because of the type of business that junk removal, junk doctors is in. It's in a sanitation. It's actually classified as a sanitation company, but we are not a sanitation company. We don't drive any trucks that require CDLs. We drive Isuzu dump trucks that require regular license, and we do house clean out. So we're in a house environment, just bagging up garbage that people want to get rid of old furniture,
Right.
and then we just transport it to the landfills, or if it's something that can be reused, we do not retail it because we do not have a retail license, and we wouldn't do that anyway because that's tacky. We wanted just to give it away for free to the state of New Jersey, and I feel like people like that also. We actually videotape that for our customers because not just because we want to show off, because a lot of customers like that. They're like, oh wow, we got to see our bed or couch or something that was still brand new, that or close to being brand new, like furniture or whatever, and they see it live on.
Sure.
Because we get a lot of customers that a family member passes away and they're like, oh, I hate to see but I have no choice. I live in Georgia and I can't. I haven't. So is there any way? And we do get it out there, and we get it donated, or it has to
Great.
go get dumped at a landfill. But sometimes some stuff people don't want and you can't reuse it. But I mean, I would love to find ways of leaning
Yeah.
leaning the company, like getting it lean and mean
Right.
on overhead, because that would be helpful. I've seen our overhead go up in the last 3 years substantially.
Well, that's another thing, with what's happened. You mentioned COVID earlier with inflation. Every business is now paying more because all the prices have increased. So even if you haven't really increased the number of vendors that you have, or even the number of invoices that you're paying, the dollar amount on all those invoices have gone up.
Mhm.
So everyone's faced with that. So a lot of businesses are looking to find ways where you can cut where you can.
And we've been doing
even
that,
payroll too.
looking for anything.
With the with competitiveness of keeping employees, right? You see it in different industries, even as well. First of all, in New Jersey, right? We all know minimum wage has gone up a little bit.
Yeah.
What was it? It was like
$8.50 or something. Now I think it's 11 something.
Right, and
or
it's going
12.
up. It's going up to 12 as a. I think it's going to be capped at 12, but I think if it's not at 12 yet, it's very soon.
Yeah.
So, and then even for other,
I believe it's at 12, man. I really believe it is, because we do pay our employees way above that, and because, like you said, there's a huge shortage in people that want to work, and I don't know. I don't know if it's a generational thing, or if we don't have enough younger employees. I just don't know. There's so much research about it. I know that there's a lot of people that want to come into this country. I don't know what skills they have, but it would be great if they could vet people correctly and maybe give them work permits, and they can actually contribute to the tax and everything, and it'd be a lot easier. In New Jersey, it's hard. It is, because we have people in New Jersey that don't have papers to work here. They come from another country, but they're allowed to get driver's licenses to drive cars, but we're not allowed to hire them. So it's kind of like, what are you doing? You're giving somebody a license. They want a car. How are they going to buy a car? And it's like, I feel like the whole system is just ran backwards. It's like, you should have started first with giving work permits, get licensing with it, and then we could hire people to do work, and it would be fair, and nobody would, because even people without papers to work here, they get taken advantage of by companies, and and that's unfair for them. So the system definitely needs an overhaul of some sort.
The state has trouble keeping up sometimes with helping the businesses with what they need. You can get kind of bogged down in the red tape area.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to think. Like, when our current president Joe Biden was coming up with his bill in the beginning, when he was first getting elected, Build Back America. I was thinking like, okay, we're going to have a massive overhaul of infrastructure, trains finally that go faster than 80 miles per hour, and really good stuff. But that never happened. But then I started thinking like, well, where are you going to find employees? Because we have a shortage on employees. So it's like, it never happened. Build Back America. It's just stagnated.
Yeah, I think it's kind of stuck in in Congress.
It's stuck in Congress, yeah. Oh, it's stuck. All right.
Actually, I think they just amended it actually in the latest bill that they just had with as they were battling over the debt ceiling.
Yeah, the debt ceiling. That was I
don't know. The politics part, I'm not as up to date.
No, me either. I stopped. I
am on expense reduction.
Yeah, no, I'm more into, like you said, like the expenses and ways to save money so you could run an efficient business. It's hard to keep an eye on what's going on. I do try to keep an eye on the global politics, because we know that if there's a war between Taiwan and China and America, we're going to have issues here as far as supply, and all these things are going to, we think inflation is bad now. It'll be 100 times worse with that particular. Hey, I'm actually running on this computer, and this is keeping this power. I'm gonna run into the office to grab the charger. Sorry, guys. That's my mistake. But I am not looking for the computer.
Live podcast. I'm not gonna do like a comedy routine while we're waiting.
Thank you. Yeah, so that is how, and so you got interested into this business after seeing the stuff that you were getting taken for.
Because I saw the need, in all these different areas, and I just realized there's so many situations where businesses are being overcharged, and like as I said earlier, so many things are overcomplicated, more complicated than they should be.
Can I ask you a question? What do you have any memory of any job that sticks out in your head that was something memorable about what you saved for this person, like a shock? Because you might have saved so much money for somebody, and that person, I want to know, was that person shocked? Like, what was their feeling? What was that feeling like?
It's interesting, because a lot of times a business owner's first reaction will be, "Oh yeah, we looked at that. And we're good." Or
there's a lot of ego stuff.
Or hey,
in there.
we just changed. Or in the case of, I'll tell you one that was really big, which was for the accounts payable service that we do, where the CFO said, because what they have to do is have their vendors that they're paying accept credit cards. And what we presented was, not all of your vendors accept credit cards, but the ones that they do will accept these virtual credit card payments instead of you mailing checks. And his first reaction was, well, I don't know if we really want to change things, and I don't really think that many vendors will accept a virtual credit card. So we said, well, let's just give it a shot, see what happens. Well, it turned out, number one, a high percentage of their vendors were fine with taking a virtual credit card payment. And number two, their accounts payable department was thrilled that they would have their workload reduced by, instead of mailing checks, because I know this doesn't really apply to smaller businesses, but you'd be surprised, some of the bigger companies that are still mailing checks. Like, when was the last time you mailed a letter?
I don't remember.
Nobody mails letters.
I don't mail letters.
Well, that's kind of the comparison. Why are you doing it that way?
Yeah,
the technology
obviously they're used to it.
Will allow you to do. So now, this is a few years ago, but now they get a rebate of $20,000 a month.
No way.
For paying their invoices, and so they're thrilled with it. They cut their expenses, and they get a rebate back for just paying their invoices. And that CFO at the time was just very skeptical. Like, I'm not sure this is going to work.
Yeah, that's the first thing people think.
Right.
And I would like to say, from the business point of view, the business owner point of view, I would say, Gary, I've done that already, because there's ego involved.
Right.
Because as a business owner, you think you're a professional in what you do. Like you said in the beginning, you're an expert, but you may not be an expert in all these other things. And I have gone to battle, I would say, with some other vendors that we pay and or other companies that we pay for and bills, and question them on, like, why is it more money now than this? And doing that, and then having to run a business with 6
Right.
employees, and all the other problems associated, or just not problems, but what is associated with running a small business. It's nice to see that you could actually hire a consultant, not have to give the money up front,
Right.
and they're working on saving you money. That's, for me, it's hard to believe. And I'm happy that I got to meet you, because I'm thinking about giving you a call.
Yeah, and it would be crazy.
I think I am.
It would be crazy to not do it, because
It is.
you would have there's no downside to it. There's only an upside.
Yeah.
And like I said, if we didn't find the savings a big percentage of the time, then
That means the company's way too small.
We wouldn't have a business. So,
Yeah.
So it's there. It's just a matter of, do you have the technology to do it?
It comes down to the time, the
expertise.
technology,
Right.
the know-how, and that's what happens to people in business. They get so bogged down with
Right.
doing what they're doing. Oh, there's a truck down.
This doesn't interrupt any of that. Let's use again credit card statements as an example. So we're going to ask for 2 months of your credit card statements. That's it. That's all you have to do, which you can easily find that, go online, or if you get a paper statement, whatever. That's all you have to do. We don't need you to do any work.
Mhm.
We don't need you to spend any time negotiating with your
Here,
provider. So
yeah.
it's something that's easy. And all these, same thing with even for the businesses that have expensive health insurance. It's the same concept.
Mhm.
Where, let us take a look, we'll ask some questions, and then after we review your information, then we're going to have what we call a discovery call. So first call is, an introduction. Then we're going to take a look, do a discovery call, and say, look, we've reviewed your statements or your information, whatever it happens to be, and this is what we think we can do for you as an estimate. And then get the client's permission to do it, and then we go and talk to their provider. They don't have to change companies, and then we say and negotiate savings or point out missed mistakes in billing or whatever it happens to be, and find you savings.
And how busy are you now? Do you seen a lot? Is there an uptick?
We're busy. Yeah, there's
Really?
there's a lot of different services, and there's a lot of businesses out there.
And since inflation went up, I'm sure you have to be busy.
And there's a new service that I'd like to mention too, in this, because this relates. It's not new to them, the company that's doing it, but it's new for my clients, which has to do with pharmacy prescriptions. So the company that is doing this is offering. This could relate to both individuals and for businesses that want to offer it to their employees. So what they're doing is they've put in a concept where you pay a monthly fee. For an individual, it's $22 a month. And then all of your prescriptions, assuming it's on the list, and there's about 600 drugs that are on the list, mostly generic drugs, and it's free. So you only pay $22 a month. And if those drugs that you're taking are on the list, you get them for free. And you asked before about like some examples. So I've had some customers that were skeptical in the beginning, and then they found out that, they're paying like $250 a month for their prescriptions, and now they're paying $22 for the monthly subscription, and everything else is free. So that's a big thing that's happened, because like I don't take any prescriptions. I'm lucky, knock wood, and I don't have to take anything right now. But for people who do have to take
stay in
them,
shape.
like,
Be
well,
good.
yeah, I mean, I'm just lucky too.
You got good
Sometimes you
genetics.
could be, yeah, you could be in shape, but whatever you might need to take something. But,
Yeah, definitely.
But for people some people are paying hundreds, thousands a month in prescriptions.
Oh, I know.
Mark Cuban's got his business, which is
Oh,
cost plus drugs, and
yeah.
that's a great concept too. And that's
What is it
I know
called?
it's called cost plus. It's like they basically pass along
I
the
think I
cost
seen
of
the card.
15%. Yeah, so that's a great. But that's an
He
example.
just got involved with that, I think,
Right.
just recently.
And it's a great program because it's saving people money on prescription drugs. And
Yeah.
And this service that we're providing, it's a little different, but
And that's for the
same-
company. That's for a
same
company
concept,
that
yeah.
wants to go with that type of insurance.
Right. So in this case, individuals can sign up on their own, or in some cases,
The company could
businesses,
offer
our
it.
clients we're introducing it to them,
Yeah.
and then they're either paying for it for their employees, or at least making their employees aware of it,
Yeah.
so that their employees can
Yeah.
sign up for it.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's a big chunk of money. Also,
Yeah.
is the health
And it's
insurance.
and it's the same concept where people can go on this website, and like my wife, for example, can go on the website and she takes something for a thyroid.
Mhm.
So she takes Synthroid. So you can just go on the website
And you can see if it's on there, the
look
generic.
and see if it's on there.
Hmm.
If it is, and you're paying more than X amount per month, then okay, I would save. Why not do it?
Yeah, of course. It's definitely that sounds awesome. That's great. I know companies definitely struggle with, trying to navigate the whole healthcare system with their employees, because the employees
Right.
could either pay for their own healthcare, or the company could offer it, but some parts will come out of the check, and it's just a very complicated thing.
And in some cases too, it's a benefit to the employer, because sometimes it helps with retention or even hiring.
Yeah.
So if you can tell someone that you're trying to hire, or tell your employees
Hey,
that
you're getting
may
help.
be tempted to
Yeah.
leave, hey, we're trying to take care of you as much as we can,
Yeah.
with cutting your costs down, because some employees, they get their deductible for their pay they get a lot deducted out of their pay for their health insurance.
Oh, definitely.
So if they can reduce that, it's very helpful.
Definitely. There was another question. How long have you been doing this through? Like,
Yeah, 8 years. Yeah.
8 years. So, okay. All right. And when you look at people's expenses and your team, do they also keep the owner posted and stay in touch with them to ask questions like, hey, what is this that you're paying for? Seems like you've been paying this for over a certain amount of time. I mean, do you still use it, or do you guys look out for stuff like that, or is it more of a different process than that?
Yeah, so each service is a little different, and usually each service is taken individually. So we may do 3 or 4 different services, but we're going to take them kind of one at a time. So if it's credit cards, we're just going to look at their credit card statements.
Oh, okay.
If it's their waste bill, or if it's their laundry, like there's laundry services that we work with too, to reduce that fee. Or if
We got a
it's
question?
health insurance.
Yes, we're getting questions coming in.
Okay.
Great. There you go. Here we go.
Okay, so one question is, how does Atlantic Cost Reduction handle confidentiality and security of sensitive business information?
Okay, good question. Yeah. So what we do, if the client, in some cases, we get requests from the client for an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement,
Yeah.
depending on what it is. So we sign that for the client. I'd say maybe 10% of the clients do request that.
Mhm.
But these businesses and myself take that very seriously. And in a lot of cases, I personally don't even see it. It'll go directly. So if it's, let's say, health insurance, as an example, I wouldn't even see it. It would go right between the subject matter expert of
Mm,
health insurance and the company.
yeah.
And if they want a non-disclosure, and the non-disclosure really works both ways too, because these businesses have special software, special
Yeah.
technology that they want to protect
Yeah.
as well.
Definitely.
Because what we don't want to do is say, hey, we can save you, $50,000 a year in this service, and tell people exactly how we do it, and then they try to do it on their own or try to negotiate on their own or whatever. But so the non-disclosure agreement kind of protects both
So
sides.
you really take that
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, and not everyone asks for it, but in the case where they do, that we can do that.
Another one?
Yeah, just one more question
Sure.
we got here right now. It says, can you explain the process of working with Atlantic cost reduction?
Right. So, I mean, the process would just start with a simple phone call or a Zoom call. Where I would ask a bunch of questions about the business. What do you do? How many employees? The size. It's just kind of because, for example, like shipping is a big one. But if you don't do shipping,
You need data.
Why would we even discuss it? If you don't accept credit cards, why would we even discuss it? So I would
You
just
would
start
need
out with
good
just
amount of
learning
data.
more about
Yeah.
the business, and then we would tailor the conversation from there and say, okay, based on what you've told me, then let's set up a call to discuss this service or that service, and then go from there.
Hmm.
But like I said earlier, it would be rare that there wasn't some area
Yeah.
where we couldn't find savings. And even we mentioned earlier about the tax credits, pretty much every business would really fit somewhere in there for either the ERC tax credit or the workers' opportunity tax credit.
Where are those?
And let's talk a little bit about the workers' opportunity tax credit as an example,
Yeah.
because that's a really good example of how a lot of people don't even know about it, right?
Mm.
But if you do know about it,
Yeah.
it's very complicated to get,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of if you do it manually,
Mhm.
there's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of headaches,
Mhm.
and if you make a mistake, it's going to get rejected. So what we do is we have a portal that walks you through, you just answer the questions, and then the software is going to do all the calculations
Oh, okay.
and prepare the information
Nice.
so that you know what
Software
you can get.
recognition, huh?
Yeah. So that's an example of it's out there, but a lot of people either don't.
And your
They
company
don't know
uses
that-
this?
yeah.
Nice.
So they either don't know about it or don't have the right technology to process it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And find it. Because even like if you're doing manufacturing, there's credits for that. If you're doing research, there's credit for that.
Yeah.
There's a list of many things that people could qualify for, and it could be up to $9,600 at a max, $9,600 per employee.
Really?
But the average is $2,400.
Wow.
So $2,400 per employee that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of.
Wow. And that's money on the table.
And the ERC is the same way. Like when we talked about it, you sounded familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it,
but
but
believe it or
nobody's
not-
getting it.
But believe it or not, a lot of
People have
a lot
gotten
of
it,
people
but
a lot of people aren't really aware of it either.
Really?
Believe it or not, yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm aware of it, but I mean, I haven't heard nothing from the government about it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know there's a very long wait right now. I mean, they're
But
going.
it was submitted, and your accountant did your accountant
I'm
help you out
sure
with
he.
it?
I'm sure he did.
Okay.
I'm sure he did. I mean, it's just pretty much waiting.
Yeah.
On whatever. That's why I believe that getting your books looked at better, I mean, could help. I mean, even with taxes and paying
Right.
less taxes.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
there's
even
a ton of
actually, in
stuff
some
on there.
cases, some people will like. There's something called cost segregation. That's another area of tax credit. So if you're a business that's done construction on your facility, like a restaurant or whatever, so this company specializes in doing a cost segregation study that allows you to take the tax break before you normally would. And some people ask, well, don't accountants do that? Well, most don't. So your accountant may not, be looking into that for you. And that's where we can help.
Mm. And what is that called again?
Cost segregation.
Cost segregation. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically taking the cost that you have for doing those changes, renovations, new building, new facility,
Yeah.
upgrading the
And now give you
facility,
tax credits.
and then you can accelerate the cost reduction, the
Nice.
tax deduction on that.
So over the time that you've been doing this sort of business, and I mean, what is the most significant thing that you've seen change?
I would say the technology,
Mhm.
the software,
It's just getting better.
the artificial intelligence.
And how do you like the
all
artificial
that.
intelligence?
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It has to be used correctly. People a lot smarter than me are writing it and using it and,
Yeah.
and figuring out how it
Needs
relates to
regulation.
that business. I mean, there's companies that can even just look at a balance sheet or accounts payable ledger, and figure out based on what people are paying, maybe they're overpaying for these different costs.
And you could use that.
Yeah, so
You could put it right on there and they'll figure it out.
Even with even with I mentioned earlier about the accounts payable service,
Mhm.
Using virtual payments for accounts payable. I mean, that really didn't exist 10 years ago, and now thousands of companies are using it. But then there's millions of companies not taking advantage of it.
And that's the
virtual payments. So instead of mailing checks or paying by ACH, using automated credit card technology to send those payments out to the vendors, and that's all technology based. So that's where the real differences are versus years ago. I mean, as we talked about, mailing checks.
Yeah, like I don't even know why we still have checks for.
Right.
I don't even know why we still write them for. I mean, they're open for fraud, bouncing. I mean, it's just, as I said, I just can't believe we're still using them as like to this day.
Right, and in the check fraud issue of mailing checks is still a big.
It's huge.
Still a big issue.
There's a big one out there that's going around that people should definitely be aware of. Like the digital taking pictures of checks, and there's people that have pasted and done things. And here we take our security very serious, where as soon as we get payment, that payment, if it's a check, goes directly into a lockbox and directly to the office right after the job. And that's just to keep any type of issues or discrepancies to the minimum. I mean, we have employees that we do background checks, and everybody comes back clean that works here. We don't want no thievery. All our reviews are positive. So we wanted to keep a good reputation, a wholesome New Jersey local. We're local New Jersey company, and we're offering better service than any other junk removal company. Like for instance, most junk removal companies, they're franchises, a lot of them, because it's so difficult to understand the structure of how to start it. So they get into the franchise part because they have a system already made, the guidelines, and they show them how to maximize profits. So one of the maximized profits of junk removal is getting a 15 cubic yard truck. So they charge everybody, mostly at pretty much 90% of or more junk removal companies here in New Jersey charge only based on how much your items take up in their trucks. And then they could also charge extra for bagging, disassembling, disposal. We don't do any extra charging. Our trucks are double the size of our competitors. We use 25 cubic yard trucks. We disrupt the industry a little bit. People were like, not liking that too much, but we're not a franchise. We don't have to pay franchise fees, and we have a little, flexibility there, and We have the biggest trucks, and it's all about how you pack the truck. So a lot of companies, so they have their gimmicks. They just throw the stuff back there, and they'll tell you, "Hey, Gary, you got a full truck when you really got 1/8 of a truck, or maybe a half a truck." And it's not
Yeah,
about that.
I would never have known that.
Yeah, and we tell the customers that's my biggest factor of training is you remember Tetris, the game Tetris?
Yeah.
I said, think of our dump truck. We have a Zuzu dump trucks that are 6 feet high, 14 feet long, 7.5 feet wide. Think of Tetris now. Think of fitting everything perfectly and tightly, and then all the way up. It's 6 feet high, not over the rim so things fall off, because we have a tarp that comes down to hold everything down. But get it up there to 6 feet, right to the rim, and then start going back and showing the customer the transparency with the measurement lines and our trucks, and the honesty part. That's why we started this group, so
Yeah.
people can see, like, they can see who you are and who
Right.
they're dealing with, and there's a face to that person, and it gives people more confidence. Like, you know what, that person's local. They're from Jersey, and I do have a lot of bills here, and I do have a lot of bills that I don't even know about. Like, I went over my own personal bills not too long ago, and I was getting charged for streaming, like something that I wanted to watch, and then I forgot to cancel it.
Right.
And yeah, it's like,
Well, there's
hey,
even services for that now.
yeah,
There's even a service where
I-
they'll review your subscription costs.
Yeah.
And cancel stuff that you don't need.
Yeah, we need it because they've been getting away with this. I don't know why there's not a clause in there that says after 3 months we will notify you to let you know that we are
Right.
still taking. But of course, regulation is what it is.
Well,
Some
they hook you in with the free trial, right?
Yeah, of
And then
course.
you forget to cancel. the
Yeah,
free
it's
trial,
a shame,
and then you end
man.
up paying a
You
monthly
know,
amount.
that I just don't agree with that. I agree with honesty. I agree with loyalty, honesty. It just breeds better business tactics. And to
Yeah.
see bigger companies than me doing these, I call them bait switches type of situations.
Well, that's why.
Where's the
Yeah.
example here?
That's why I love what I do, because, like I said earlier, it's all contingency based. Like, we're not going to charge you for doing what we do. We're going to prove it and then say, okay, we saved you $1,000. We're going to take a percentage
Wow.
of that. And so
I relate.
even if you think I'm full of crap,
Yeah,
you can make me prove it,
yeah.
because I'm not going to ask for any money up front. So
That's great. I
So
love
it's,
that you don't see that much, and I relate to that too. That's the same thing we do. We don't take no payment. A lot of people say, "Oh, do I give you my credit card?" I said, "No, you pay after the job is done. As long as you're satisfied with everything, you
And the
pay."
great thing there too is then people, they trust you, you earn their business going
Yes.
forward, and because it's a lot harder to get a new customer than it is to keep a new one. If you keep a new one happy, they stay with you for a long
Yes.
time.
Oh, definitely.
And
We
then
see that.
They hopefully refer other
Repeat
customers
customers.
to you.
Yes.
That's how you build your business.
That's what we
right?
want, and that's what
Yeah.
we are doing, and that's what's happening. We are involved. Like right now, we're on 5 different social media platforms, streaming out and talking, and to get that on one of them, LinkedIn, to get the stream on there, you have to have a certain amount of followers, and we did our due diligence with communicating ourselves, with people and interacting. Like when you see our the part of the entrepreneurs and businesses of New Jersey, our Facebook group, that was us 3 just here, just constantly engaging with people, taking time out during the day to engage with people, and set up maybe a podcast, or maybe, hey, I got a customer that may be interested with your, is it all right if I send them your information?
Yeah.
And we're trying to create like a community, which we have, and it's
Right.
working, and it's starting to work even better, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and we're keeping it local New Jersey. That's where we're not gonna become a franchise anytime soon. Maybe one day we will, and that is maybe one of our objectives. If we get big enough and people want to become part of the Junk Doctors team, we
Sure.
could teach people just like consult them and show them how to get their licensing and how to do everything, and then show them the tricks of the trade and do it the right way instead of, doing gimmicks and, telling the customer a different price on the phone. And then when they get there, they're like, well,
Right.
here's another extra service, I think that's something that I could relate with you. You don't have any extra fees that you're throwing on top. You're telling your customer, this is what we'll charge you if we save you this amount, and you stick to that.
Right. Yeah. And, when you run a business, there's so many things you have to know, right? And you, like I said before, you can't be an expert in everything. So like if you're trying to do something on a financial matter, you may have to bring in an accountant, an expert. Right?
Yeah.
Or if you have a legal matter, you talk to a lawyer. Or if you really want to ramp up your social media, you may need a social media expert or an advertising expert or an operations, whatever case may be.
SEO.
And yeah. I mean, I've dealt with that. It's like, okay, how does SEO work? It's a little complicated.
Yeah,
you don't know if you're getting overcharged.
You don't know. You got to be careful with that
it's
because
tricky, right?
it's like a mechanic, right? You take your car, you're not a mechanic. You got to take
example,
you
like
have to take
Google,
their word.
Yeah, like Google intentionally makes it complicated.
Oh,
how
yeah.
all that stuff works. It's all
Well,
it's
we
all
see
by
what
the
Google's going through right
sign.
now, and I'm not here, celebrating their. I'm not gonna say their downfall. They're still a big company, but Google's going through their own turmoil right now with their AI system, and we see what happens to companies if they're not on top of their financing and on top of opportunities.
Right, and the thing
And
is,
that's what you
if there's a
mentioned.
way to just help people simplify some things and just help people understand things a little easier, that's a key thing.
Yeah.
Because it's already hard enough without making things overly complicated and to the point where you really can't even figure it out if you try.
And Gary, where do you see your business in 5 years from now? Do you see yourself branching out even bigger? Do you guys have any bigger things rolling out?
Well, I think some of these things that we're doing are gradually growing and catching on, and people are getting more and more familiar with it. Like the virtual payments that I mentioned earlier, a few years ago, if I brought it up to someone, in most cases, they never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Now, I would say it's like 30% are, I've heard of it and we're doing it, or I've heard of it and we're thinking about doing it.
Yes.
So that's an example. I think shipping is another area that's drastically changing. That's an evolving thing.
Yeah.
COVID
drastically going up.
Accelerated with all the people buying stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
Put a huge burden
on supply
both good
chain.
and bad on the supply chain. UPS, FedEx, they've taken advantage. They've jacked up a lot of the costs.
Some price gouging going on.
Exactly. USPS, the United States Parcel Service, is a player. They build out their systems with Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They really, Amazon use them quite a bit, so they're positioned to do things a little less expensive than UPS and FedEx. But just the evolution of keeping up with that, I think that's in the future. That's where we can help more and more people know now that there's options of taking a look at what they're doing and reducing costs there. I talked about the restaurants earlier, that whole industry of the growth. If you look at the growth of DoorDash, Uber Eats, I mean, multi-billion-dollar.
Oh, they accelerated
and
very quickly.
In the future, obviously, they're doing a lot of food stuff now, but they're also doing other things now, and will do even more in the future.
Yeah.
Of just moving object one to destination. So, auto parts, drugs, all kinds of things.
And we're talking about pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about picking up a drug at a pharmacy and getting it to the customer instead of waiting.
I
for
see
it to
that.
be
I see
shipped.
that now with a lot of private pharmacies. So I don't know if I don't think Walgreens or CVS is doing it. But I know there's a lot of private pharmacies that do provide that. Like, hey, we can
Right.
drop off and deliver and
Exactly.
whatnot. So that's pretty convenient.
Yeah, but we see with auto parts, and I think in the future, even you'll see stuff with all kinds of different shipments that instead of going through a system where it would take a day or two to get it, you can get it within an hour.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
big
we're going to
thing.
see that even get even
Yeah.
much more efficient, in the coming years. I mean, we're already getting things right now really fast, and it's just getting better.
Right, but also we talked earlier, credit cards, that's an evolving thing. I think 10% of the fees now are getting passed along to the customers.
Yeah.
I think that's only going to grow.
Do you think credit cards even are going to be
Well,
around much longer?
that's another good
I
question.
think that's why they're so
There's some
aggressive with
evolution there too. I mean, I don't think they're going to go away.
No, I think they're
I
going
think-
to evolve into
Well,
something
yeah,
else.
I mean, now with alternatives like Apple Pay,
Mhm.
you have obviously Venmo and things like that,
Yeah.
and other alternative.
But they still
ways.
charge a surcharge too.
Yeah, there's always a fee one way or another.
Yeah, but you want to
but
go with
there's
the
just some
best.
changes.
Yeah.
And then you have to look at security and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It's been an hour. I mean, it was a great conversation on how to save money. Is there anything else, like any other tips that you could give to a business like me, just starting out?
I
Where
guess
should I
my-
start?
Yeah, my best advice, well, contact me. That'd be great.
Definitely.
I don't know if we can put up my contact info on
Yeah,
there.
it's up on there.
Is it?
Well, it's up. Your name is up there. It's gonna be on there already. Once
Yeah.
once
So I'll
this is
put up my
posted,
email-
all that
my
your link
email
is
and
gonna
phone
be
number.
there.
So just a conversation, I'll ask some questions. And
Yeah.
we'll go from there. And I would be surprised if I can't help someone to one degree or another,
Yeah.
but it doesn't hurt to look into it.
Yeah, once this is posted and it's up, and that's even if people look up on it right now, they see everything, your link and everything like that. We post that, and that's part of just helping out everybody that comes on
Great.
here.
Yeah.
It's just about.
And
you
I
got
would say,
another
just as a
question?
general point. Okay, go ahead.
I haven't read it yet. I'm just about to look it up right now. It says, "How from Peter Brunner? How about earning money by using waste? For example, old solar panels, which are no longer good enough for the United States, will be able to run a second life in Gambia. We mount them on bamboo and do gardening in its shadow."
I don't get involved with the solar stuff, but I do have a relationship with a company that does, so I could refer that person to someone. But I know that's you asked about something growing in the future. That I think that's an area, but that's a solar and using energy, and I know businesses reducing costs
By going
by
solar.
going solar is a big thing.
And it's
Just
getting
in my
easier.
area in Marlton, New Jersey, I noticed there's a big area parking lot of shared by
Solar.
Chick-fil-A and a diner,
Yeah.
and they just put up this huge solar panel display. And I was talking to the restaurant owner, and they were talking about it's going to wipe out their the utility bill.
Nice. And it's gotten better. The first solar panels, when they first started coming out, they were really big, bulky.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, I don't know. I mean, this is going to put a lot of weight on my roof, and people were hesitant, but now you're starting to see them very thin and, more efficient. So that's a pretty cool innovation.
I was talking to a company too, and they have a product where if you just plug this thing into your HVAC system, somehow it controls the flow of the electricity and reduces your cost by like 30% per month.
Wow.
So I don't know exactly how it works, but they swear that just by plugging this thing into the outlet.
So it's a regulator.
Yeah.
Nice. That is very
But
interesting.
but all these are like good examples of how there's ways you can cut your costs that you may not be thinking of.
Yes, definitely. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. And you're the man to call. I mean, you turn a person that looks at everything like me. I just look at every angle. I try to figure out like what's the catch here. But
Right.
you convinced me. I mean, if there's no money being put up yet, and
Right.
you're willing to do the work to save me money, and I mean, we're both making out. That's great because I mean, yeah, you're doing work, you have to get paid, and you're saving me money,
Right.
and it's a no lose situation. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
I don't see anywhere there you could really fail with that.
No, there's no downside to it at all. There's no upfront cost. There's no risk. That's not going to take up a lot of time. So there's no reason to at least have the conversation.
That's great. Thanks for coming up and taking that ride. I know you're from South Jersey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like again that's why we're here to promote some businesses, especially small entrepreneurs and small businesses here in New Jersey, particular New Jersey alone. Junk Doctors and Jay, we sponsored the podcast and the group, and we want to help by helping small businesses because we all help each other out. We could be a huge resource among each other. We could be a big corporation of small businesses
Sure.
uniting to become very big and helping each other. Because today in America, do you think there's more big manufacturing than smaller businesses? I would think there's more smaller businesses than manufacturing now.
There's a lot more service companies.
Yeah, there's more service-based companies now, and it's just totally changed the landscape. We used to be a mega powerhouse of industrial, especially here in New Jersey. Trenton, you're from South Jersey, so Trenton has that thing on the bridge. We make the world, and I think that thing is half falling off or something. I don't know, but Harrison, New Jersey, the same
But there
thing.
are still a lot of manufacturing.
Oh,
companies in
Jersey,
New Jersey,
yeah, pharmaceutical companies, big
Yeah.
time metal fabricators.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of warehouses and stuff like that. I mean, that's one thing that New Jersey does have still. You got port right there, so the ports
Right.
of everything, the Elizabeth, Newark, it's right there. So yeah, I mean, it was great having you come up, and I enjoyed the interview. And if you want, you can promote your business and tell people how to reach you. And
Yeah, feel free to either email or text, phone call. I assume the information will be available.
It definitely will.
Just reach out and we can have a conversation and go from there. Look forward to hearing from people.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can help you out.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm going to be calling
Thank you.
you as soon as I have a chance.
Yeah,
And
I
as soon
mean-
as I get all my finances together, I'm going to get that and get that over to you. And
Yeah.
hopefully I can save a
Well,
couple of bucks.
I'm sure you can.
I know I can.
And we won't ask you to do a lot of work. It'll
Nice.
be easy, painless.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me, Chris.
No problem. Thank you for everybody watching and, potentially watching later. This is Chris Rose with Junk Doctors NJ. .com, New Jersey's premier #1 junk removal company. And this is entrepreneurs and small businesses in New Jersey. And our website and our link will be on here with Gary and his company. And his company is Atlantic Cost Reduction. And it's a business expense reduction company. I mean, you cannot go wrong with that. No money up front until you save money. So what do you have to lose, especially for everybody that takes credit cards like us and restaurants, which is abundant here in New Jersey, especially where we live right here in New Jersey and Denville, New Jersey, the hub of Morris County, North New Jersey. A lot of restaurants. Get in touch and save yourself some money. We definitely always need a couple of extra dollars. Thank you for tuning in and have a nice day.
Thank you.